According to the Department of Labor Statistics in its annual report on fatal occupational injuries, a worker dies every 99 minutes from work-related injuries. Accidents involving transportation are on the rise and are now at their highest level, accounting for the largest share of workplace fatalities overall. And of the 10 most dangerous occupations listed, the person collecting your garbage has the 6th most dangerous job in the U.S. More dangerous than an iron worker or a power lineman or even a police officer. Just think about that. The person collecting the cans in front of your house every week, that person operating the large garbage truck that's blocking the road and making you anxious enough to just want to speed around it, the person who takes care of picking up the trash and taking it away to someplace you don't ever have to think about, that person has one of the most dangerous jobs in the country. For Shawn Mandel, Vice President of Safety and Risk Management at Waste Connections, the risks are all too familiar. So he's built a career on improving the safety of the waste and recycling collection industry. Shawn sees safety as a core value, not a company priority. As a value, safety is also proving to be a competitive advantage and a key factor in driving the success of his company. So while the industry may have the 6 most dangerous jobs today, they used to be ranked number 5. And that small improvement in ranking says a lot about the large improvement in safety the industry is making.
My name is Shawn Mandel, and I am the Vice President of Safety and Risk Management for a company called Waste Connections. And we are a company that provides solid waste as well as oil field and gas services, all types of waste remediation, processing, disposal. This would include recycle facilities. So I've been in the industry since 1995 and have been with Waste Connections now for 10 years.
I know that some kids like to play or they're fascinated by garbage trucks. I'm not sure how often those kids say when they grow up they want to be in the waste industry. So how did you find your way into the industry?
So at the ripe old age of 18, I joined the military, as many do, and was proud to serve our country for a total of 8 years. When I came out and continued my college career, my brother-in-law at the time was working for a company called BFI, and he had suggested that I take a look. And in the process of completing my college studies, I started working for BFI back in 1995. And I'll tell you, the incredible people, the work ethic, the camaraderie, it's something that it almost becomes a part of your DNA and who you are. And you see that a lot. The career path in the waste industry is either very long or very short. In other words, people absolutely love it or they hate it and they want to seek gainful employment and careers elsewhere. I was one of those folks that just fell in love with it, fell in love with the people, fell in love with the work ethic of the people, really almost found, I would say, as similar as an occupation can be, camaraderie to that of the military, and have been in the industry for 25 years.
Did you start in operations or did you jump right into environmental health and safety?
So I was a corpsman in the Navy, and for those that know a little bit about the military, the majority of my time was on what we call the green side. In other words, I served with commands like 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, and 3rd Anglico, and so forth. And so the health and safety of the Marines was my responsibility. And it parlayed well into the environmental health and safety field. And again, I started out as a district environmental health and safety manager for BFI and progressively worked my way through that organization. They were acquired by an organization called Allied Waste and then Republic Services. And I was with them right up until, again, about 10 years ago when Waste Connections came knocking at the door. And I absolutely fell in love with the values, the organizational structure, their approach from a servant leadership standpoint, and I knew that was where I wanted to be.
One of the things I recently learned in preparing for this conversation, and this is something I had absolutely no idea about before, was that waste and recycling collection industry has historically been one of the deadliest occupations. That shocked me. I had no idea. In fact, one statistic I read was that there were 17 deaths in the first 22 days of 2019 across the US and Canada, which was unbelievable. So what makes this job so dangerous?
It's extremely unfortunate. We are making some strides. Previously, we had been the fifth most hazardous, and recently, with the latest BLS data being released, we moved to the sixth. So we are making strides, but it really comes back to the environments that our people work in. So, as you can imagine, the vast majority of those serious fatal type injuries, those life-changing results occur on our roadways. And if you think of the old school traditional collection process where we've got what we call a residential rear load vehicle and one or two laborers or helpers working on the back of that truck in the process of collection, and you combine that with the epidemic that is distracted driving, we unfortunately see a number of individuals that are struck by other vehicles. It's one of those things that we work diligently at, and we're proud to be one of the premier waste services companies in our industry with some of the best safety performance. But unfortunately, those risks are still out there. So we battle them every day.
Yeah, it's interesting you're talking about the trucks because I remember as a kid seeing the garbage truck and I see the guys hanging off the back of the truck and they jump on and off to dump the garbage cans into the back of the truck and then move on to the next one. And it seems all I see now are those side loader trucks where there's one guy in the vehicle and he drives and he never really gets out. So I thought for sure that was going to make the job safer. That's what made that statistic so surprising to me. How else besides maybe the vehicle is the biggest part of it, but what else has the industry done to try and improve worker safety?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head from a transportation standpoint, going to fully automated systems where the driver is the only person on the vehicle and they remain in the cab and they operate that joystick to dump the cans. They aren't getting in and out of the vehicle, and it's almost used as a form of protection for them, has enabled us to make some significant strides there. But unfortunately, we've got some areas, if you think about New York City, if you think about some of the rural routes and municipalities that quite honestly have not figured out a way to bring their citizenry to the fully automated system, those risks and potential for injuries are still out there. We also have recycle facilities. If you think of large plants with big pieces of machinery and equipment, all of those moving parts intermixed with people, it poses significant risk as well. And so we take the approach that it is our self-directed, empowered team members that have enabled us to see the success that we have from a risk and safety standpoint. That said, we do have quite a bit of turnover, and the automation of the systems is helping, but the generation today, there aren't a whole lot of folks, as you said, that say to themselves coming out of high school, college, trade schools, I want a career in the waste industry. And so we are making some strides to entice those individuals and create a great place to work. But the waste industry itself still carries an impression on, I think, the younger generation that that's not something I want to do, when in fact, it's a great career. I can attest to it myself. We have many employees in our team of 18,000 across the US and Canada that have been with us 10, 20, 30 years and more. We are hoping to educate the younger generation that it's something that they may want to look at. Good paying positions that really are we used to consider ourselves recession proof. I would consider us more recession resistant. It's something that there will always be a need for.
One of the other things I noticed on the website for Waste Connections that your company really embraces technology, and it seems to do that across operations. How has technology changed your role in safety?
When you talk about the technological advancements in the waste industry, there are many. But on the health and safety side, probably the biggest has been the advent of onboard event recording technology. And we were one of the first national organizations back in 2008 to adopt a fleet-wide event recording technology system, and we have seen some great success. It has continued to evolve, and we have been early adopters in those evolutions and design enhancements. And today, the platform, it's got MVAI technology. It literally can tell when a person in the cab of the vehicle picks up a cellular phone and puts it up to their ear or looks down at it for a text or something along those lines, and it gives a warning to the driver in cab, and then it affords our leaders the opportunity to coach out that type of behavior by capturing it on video. So, when you talk about technology, certainly from a safety and risk standpoint, that's probably one of the bigger game changers that we experienced pretty early on.
Did you deploy that recently, or has that been in place for a while?
So we deployed the event recording technology back in 2008. And now every one of Waste Connections vehicles is equipped with event recording technology.
I'm curious about the process you go through to gain approval for these sorts of investments. A lot of companies say they value safety, it's important for their business, but I think it's the exceptional companies that see safety as a strategic investment for the business. So where do you feel that Waste Connections fits on the spectrum?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that question because it really goes to the core. We don't talk about safety as a priority. It truly is a value, and we only have 5 values, the first of which is safety, and all of our values are built upon this foundation of servant leadership, which was really brought to our organization by our former CEO, and he is one of our founders and still our current chairman of the board, Ron Middlestead. He early on recognized that our people will meet the expectations of their leaders, and if their leaders' values are that of safety, their people will follow that. If we go out and we say to them, hey, you got to get your route up and we need you in by 3:00, that's sending the wrong message, and you just won't hear that from a Waste Connections leader. Instead, you might hear, listen, we need you to ensure that you come back the same way that you leave each and every day because you mean something to us. You're important to us. Our organization isn't the same without you. And it's that approach from a servant leadership standpoint that really has enabled us to see the success that we have. So when we talk about the investments in safety, there just is never a question. I've never had our CEO or chief operating officer who I report to come back and say to me, Shawn, this is just not feasible. Now, obviously, we're a for-profit company, publicly traded, but at the same time, those values drive our business. And it's those values that drive our business that have enabled us to see the success that we have for the past coming up on 25 years now.
Well, as you said before, you've been in this industry for quite some time. You've grown up through a number of companies and seen various cultures. Is this unique to Waste Connections, or is this something that's fairly common across the industry?
It really is unique to Waste Connections, although we've got a lot of admirers and followers now. Our reputation has preceded us. And it's kind of like anything when organizations see other organizations achieving milestones that they want to achieve, they try and model themselves after that. And so we have certainly over the last 5 years seen many organizations in our industry that are modeling that similar path. Now, again, they're decades behind us from just a culture standpoint, but I'm excited to see that. I was previously co-chair for the National Waste Association's Safety Committee. It is senior members of all the various organizations, regardless of size, that generally sit on this, and just the openness and sharing of information when it comes to best practices from a safety standpoint is really unique in our industry. And I'm just really proud to have co-chaired that and been able to mentor as well as find mentors for myself within the organization. And I think, as an industry, that's one of the reasons that we're moving in the right direction on that most hazardous list of industries.
Do you think your culture and your approach to safety is or could be your competitive advantage?
It is definitely a competitive advantage as well. Again, our values are pretty simple. It all starts with safety, and all of us realize that. And as you go through the list, they all build upon safety. And one of them goes back to creating a great place to work. You really can't create a great place to work if people are concerned about not being able to go home the same way they came to work. And so when we talk about, the culture at Waste Connections, it is a living, breathing thing that is, regardless of where you're at, whether you're in Vancouver, BC, or whether you're in New York City, or whether you're in San Jose, our leaders speak the same language, and all 18,000 of our team members understand what our values and our culture are all about. And that's probably the biggest difference between us and some of our competitors out there. Again, it's the importance that we place on those values and the vision in our culture. And so, as I said earlier, from an industry standpoint, you've got people that come into the industry and absolutely love it, and they're here for life. And then you've got others that realize, this just isn't cut out for me. With Waste Connections, because of our culture and values, we're a little bit more selective, and we can be. And when they join our organization, we have a little greater success when it comes to that turnover and the tenure and longevity of our team members because of that culture. So it is definitely a competitive advantage. Oftentimes, we will have members from competitors come to join Waste Connections because of our reputation and what they've heard and how we treat people and the career path opportunities and the emphasis that we place on their safety and well-being and creating that great place to work. So it is absolutely a competitive advantage.
What metrics are you using? Is there anything unique to your company that you're measuring success against?
Absolutely. So, of course, we measure things like total recordable incident rates and DOT recordable accidents, and we measure every type of incident that occurs, near misses, our coaching effectiveness on the event recording side, and so forth. But one of the things that we do that is probably unique and most beneficial is every year we have what's called a servant leadership survey, and it's a series of questions all around our values. And we send that request out to every one of our team members, so all 18,000 of us. I get one, just like our frontline team members get one. We're strongly encouraged to respond to those. It's completely anonymous. And that feedback is utilized to evaluate our leaders. And it's our opportunity to truly look from our employees' perspective at the job that we're doing. And I'm not sure that there are a lot of companies out there that do that. We do it every year. And every year, the expectation is that our people are going to score us as leaders better than they did years past. And if they don't, we're asking those questions, why? The first of the series of questions, and there's only 12 of them, but the first is your work site a safe place to work? And they rank it between 0 and 5, and then they're able to provide commentary if they so choose. But again, the expectation is we're going to get all of our folks to evaluate how we're doing every year, and we're going to take appropriate action to make course corrections where necessary. And generally, we're getting better than 80% response. So, better than 8 out of 10 of our employees are responding with really valuable feedback for us that we use.
That's an incredibly engaged workforce.
It really is. We're extremely proud of it. We're extremely proud of the results that we've been able to garner from it and how it's led our company.
How big is your safety organization?
Well, our safety organization is every leader in the company and includes every one of our self-directed employees. But I'm sure you're talking about folks with a safety title. We've got 2 regional safety managers is the title that we give them for the system purposes, HR purposes, at each of our regions. And so that would be 10 of them. And then I have a staff of 3 at the corporate office that provide support, and myself. And many are like, well, how is it that you've got over 500 physical locations, you've got 18,000 employees across, 2 countries? How is it that this group of, we'll call it 20, can have that kind of impact? We can't. And that's where it goes back to, our values and our vision and ensuring that all of our leaders understand and we're incorporating the training necessary to get those self-directed, empowered employees involved, because that's where we win. When I get a driver talking to another driver about how they need to ensure that they're wearing their high visibility every time they step out of their cab because they narrowly missed being struck by a vehicle themselves not too long ago, that's where we win. Because that's much more powerful than Shawn Mandel trying to have that conversation with that driver.
I'm not surprised that you don't have a large safety organization. You actually led with exactly what I expected you to say, which is affirming to me, because I actually would have been disappointed if you had this huge safety organization.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to slight organizations like that. BFI, I started out as a district environmental health and safety manager 25 years ago. In 1995, I had the Central Los Angeles district, and it was my responsibility. And when something happened, when an auto collision occurred, or there was a workers' compensation, or there was some type of unsafe report, it would come across my desk, and I would take care of it. And the problem with that was, of course, it was no longer the supervisor's responsibility or the manager's responsibility or even the frontline team member's responsibility. It became the funny looking guy with the safety title. It was his job. And I think as an industry, we have learned a lot over those last few decades that it can't be about the safety guy. They've all got to own it. We've all got to own it.
How do you drive that in a company? How do you change culture to operate like that?
That's where it really goes back to that servant leadership approach, right? And making good things happen for other people. That's our job, our responsibility. And who better than those people that were charged to lead? Who better to make good things happen for? Again, we don't even use the term safety a lot in the organization. It's just our first value. When I send out communication to the field about, I-rate performance or incident rate performance and things of that nature, I seldom use the term safety because I don't need to in our organization. And it's kind of like we've got this internal language that only we understand. when you ask anyone in the Waste Connections organization about the first value, they know that you're talking about safety, and you're talking about their safety, you're talking about their coworkers' safety, you're talking about the workplace safety, you're talking about, safety when they're going home. I want them to use the Smith System 5 keys when they're driving home in their personal vehicle. I want them to teach it to their kids. I want their kids participating in the annual Smith System training that we provide, or other defensive driver training that we provide in the workplace. We want it to just become a part of who they are. It doesn't matter what the meeting is about. You can bet that if there's a Waste Connections meeting occurring, there's going to be some discussion about our first value.
Do you think your culture is the secret sauce behind your financial performance?
Absolutely. I know our culture is the secret sauce. As you've probably seen, we just completed 2020, and again, another record year, and probably one of the most difficult of situations. It all goes back to the culture of our organization. Again, when you take care of people and you empower them to take care of the business, good things happen. We don't micromanage folks. We give them the tools and the resources. Everyone in our organization knows all of us work for them, and my responsibility is to be the best resource that I can possibly be for our field leaders and our frontline teams. And regardless of where you're at in our organization, you understand that. The servant leadership model, it's unlike the militaristic model where there's this hierarchy and the CEO dictates and that's how it's done. We flipped that triangle upside down and we said, no, we're here to ensure that they have everything that they need to succeed and that we're accountable to them. And by doing that, we've seen just continued success and growth. And it's been really exciting. And I think the next decade is just going to see a continuation of that for us.
What's something you wish more people understood about your industry?
I really wish that they understood the hazards that they create for us as an industry when they don't slow down a little bit before they go around us. They would no more speed around a school bus collecting children than they would walk out their front door without putting their pants on, right? But they will, without even thinking about it, speed around that garbage truck that, has people working on it. We've partnered with the NWRA on a Slow Down to Get Around campaign that a friend of mine, Larry Stone, actually came up with and developed. Larry was a former director of safety for Rumpke. He realized, listen, we need to do more. We need to educate the general public that if they see a garbage truck on the side of the road with its flashing lights on, there's a good likelihood that there is one of our team members working in, on, around that vehicle. Again, just like you would for a school bus or a traffic work zone, you've got to slow down and take the time necessary to watch out for them.
What about for safety in general? Is there something you wish people understood better about safety?
I think that it's just that of a personal choice. I've got 4 kids of my own, and they're all grown and gone. My youngest is 22, and my oldest is going to be 34, and always harping on them when I'm in the car with them. Never assume that a stop sign or a stoplight is going to stop traffic, because that's just not how it works, especially with all of the distractions that people have in and around them. And if they'll make the right decision and be aware of those potential risks, they not only create a safer environment for them, but they create a safer environment for others. And if we could get people to just think like that, that phone call, that text message, it's just not that important. If we could just get people to be in the moment and not be so concerned and about I've got to hurry up. If I don't go a little bit faster, if I don't get that phone call right now, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be all right. 20 years ago, we didn't all have these things attached to us constantly. Let it go. Be in the moment and be aware of the potential risks and hazards around you.
That is great advice. So, if you had to do it all over again, would you do anything differently?
I don't know that I would do too much differently, other than I sure would have liked to have found Ron Middlestead and Daryl Chambliss and Waste Connections as an organization back in the beginning years. But it's God's plan and God's timing, and I don't know that I would do anything different other than that.
It doesn't take an army of people with safety in their title to lead a safety culture. With self-directed, empowered employees and leaders that see safety as the foundation of a company's value system, organizations can reap the rewards of creating a safer workplace. As Shawn Mandel explains it can't always be about the safety guy. We've all got to own it. This is Kathleen Fanato from TRUCE Software. Join me again as I talk to safety leaders across a wide range of industries to understand how what drives them in their field is also driving the success of their companies. It's no accident.